Today on Southern Roads, I'm going to show you how to polish up your boat like a pro by getting this 19-foot Chaparral polished up for boating season. So I've already washed the boat down good, given it a couple days to dry. The next thing I want to do is vacuum all the crud out of all the compartments, and then I'll be able to put all the cloth goods back in the boat. As you can see, even after we rinse off, there's still some junk in here I'll need to pull out with the vacuum. Then I'll get all the life jackets, all the throwables, all the ropes and gear back into the boat. I try to keep these pool toys and throwables as dry as possible. If you get any moisture in these compartments, these things all mildew, and all the compartments take on a really bad smell. Get them dried out thoroughly, and then I make sure the compartment is dry, and then I carefully fold everything and then place it back. Before I put the anchor back in the locker, I make sure that the rope is coiled up very neatly and that it'll play out neatly without knotting when you go to use the anchor. There's nothing worse than kneading the anchor down and the rope is tangled up, so I'm very careful to set this in such a way that it'll just play out right from the pile. And of course, being careful not to chip the gel coat, just ease the anchor chain in and then lay the anchor right on top. Now that the passenger compartment is dried out, I can put all the soft goods back in. This is the side that I keep all the life jackets and throwables. And the way I achieve this shine is that I like to use Starkey Yacht Technologies Elevate and Ignition Compound and Polish. Now I'll demonstrate how we actually apply the polish. I put just a little dab on a DA polisher, that's a double action. Rub it in, dab it around, and then turn it on a medium setting and just run around. Now, as you see, I'll run a horizontal path, and then I go in the same area using a vertical motion. And I'll repeat that process over and over, horizontal, and then vertical. I'm not using any pressure against the hull. I'm just basically letting the weight of the machine and the action of the polisher do the work. I'm using very little pressure and just a medium cut sponge. I'm spending a little more time on this corner than I would on, let's say, the side of the boat because, as I'll talk about in a minute, the transom and the back area of the boat tends to stain and water spot worse than the rest of the boat. And here I am just removing the trailer catch. Want to make sure I get that little bit of gel coat underneath that. And this is basically the process. You pick like a 2x2 area, make slow but overlapping passes vertically, then horizontally. Repeat that until you're satisfied that you've used up the polish or that you've got the staining or the fading out. And then I'll go back and wipe it out with a clean microfiber towel. Here I am just applying a little bit more to that corner. I think there was a water stain there that was being a little bit stubborn, something that I wasn't able to get with the uric acid treatment I used semi-annually. And then I just wipe that out. And you can see at the very, very upper corner, there's a little bit of haze left. That's some water staining that remains that I'm going to get on the next pass. Now we're just going to fast forward through the rest of the transom here. Now this area under the swim deck, this gets stained a lot more, and the reasoning is that with the transom, if you're launching at a ramp that has a lot of scum or trash in the water, sometimes trash blows in during the day. You pull the boat out, it kind of collects on the back of the boat. You can rinse it, but it'll leave a little stain. It's important to spend some extra time on the transom to get that out. Also, you have the outdrive right there. It's spewing exhaust out of the propeller. So you have combustion acids coming up through the water, bubbling up, splashing onto the transom, and that tends to stain it a lot worse than the rest of the boat. So here we are after a complete pass around the outside of the boat with the Starkey Yacht Technologies polish. I am now moving on to the inside of the boat. I'm going to get all of the gunnels and vertical fiberglass inside this boat. This is the first time I've actually polished in the boat. I have applied wax in here, but it is getting time to cut this gel coat a little bit, get it shining like new again. Again, I'm not using any pressure here. I'm just using the weight of the polisher and the action of the machine. We're making the same horizontal and vertical passes. And now I'm just moving on to some of the horizontal fiberglass in this area. Something that I just couldn't reach when I was working on the sides of the boat. Again, this is just the weight of the machine. I'm not applying any pressure here. The fiberglass was not in bad shape. It's not chalked up, so it didn't need drastic reconditioning. And here I am just wiping down one of the side consoles, and it's starting to look really nice. So I've got a total of about 7 hours into this, and I've got the exterior and most of the interior polished. I still need to get down in each one of the footwells, but I need to be able to pick some of this up. That compartment here is not quite dry, so once I get it dry, I'll move this out the way. I'll get in the footwells. Also tomorrow, I'm coming back with the big polisher because we're going to do the diamond plate, and that's a little bit different of a technique. So I'll show you now. It's this, well, you can call it diamond plate, you can call it non-skid. We're going to do a little bit different technique, get this polished, because it is feeling a little bit dry. I have not ever polished that yet. We'll get it taken care of tomorrow. So here we are, ready to polish all of the non-skid on the boat. That is this diamond textured surface on the top of all the fiberglass. That's going to be on all your walking surfaces. The problem with this is that it'll start to chalk, and then that chalk builds in between the grooves here. And it requires a little bit of a different technique than the flat fiberglass. So for that, we'll load the edge of the wool pad with polish. Then we go in and run at an angle up and down, getting in those grooves. Then we'll turn the device and run the other direction. And then to give the top a nice sheen, we'll just go over it as we usually would. Very important not to overload your pad, else you'll get a lot of buildup in here and it's much more difficult to wipe off. So I'll get started with that now. So I accidentally filmed this in super slow motion, so I've had to speed it up. And here I am just applying the polish to the top. I'm going to angle here and then get in all the little grooves between the diamonds. And then change directions, just going the other way with it. Get around that flange. And then I'll just go over the top again real quick and then wipe it off with a microfiber towel. Now that every square inch of fiberglass on this boat is polished, I'm now giving it a complete protective coat of wax. You can just use your favorite marine wax here. Fortunately, this goes a little bit quicker than the polish step. At this point, I believe I had about 10 hours in it, with the wax adding another 2 hours. There's just nothing that looks better than a nice Phantom Black Mercury or Mercruiser that's nice and polished up. And you know, that makes a big difference when you're detailing a boat. We're going to get this cleaned up real nice. It's going to look brand new. And then I'll move on to buffing out all the wax. And just look at that. Just a few extra minutes makes all the difference on a nice Phantom Black outboard or outdrive. And I'm finally down to my favorite part, and that is buffing out the wax with a little wool buffing pad. As you can see, it brings out that final shine, that last detail that makes it all worth it. Definitely don't want to skip out on this step. It really takes it from great to excellent. And there you have it. She is all cleaned up for boating season. Stay tuned for part 2, where we do all the mechanical and safety checks necessary before putting this boat in the water. This has been Southern Roads, and I hope to see you out on the roads and river.